Shedeur Sanders is at the center of one of the NFL's biggest debates, hailed by legends, criticized by reporters, and questioned by fans. Is he a rising superstar or overhyped rookie? Today, we dive into the conflicting narratives, the tape, and the truth behind the controversy surrounding Sanders. When it comes to Shedeur Sanders, the chatter in NFL circles is louder than ever. Critics have questioned his preparation, his film study habits, even his ability to read defenses. But here's the thing, the legends of the league are seeing something completely different. Kyle Long, a three-time Pro Bowler and a guy who's been in the trenches at the highest level, recently shared his thoughts on Sanders, and what he said raises eyebrows. According to Long, whoever is under center for the Browns, ideally Sanders, is impossible to take your eyes off. He's confident, poised, and unafraid to push the ball downfield, even under pressure. And Long isn't the only one noticing. NFL veterans from multiple eras, from Kurt Warner to Eric Dickerson, have all praised Sanders for his football IQ, his preparation, and his on-field instincts. These are players who have seen everything, faced every type of defense, and know when a quarterback has that rare mix of talent and composure. So why is there such a disconnect between the voices of the legends and the narratives being pushed by some media outlets? Reports and social media chatter often focus on supposed shortcomings, not watching enough film, struggling with coverage recognition, or needing guidance from coaches. But when you listen to those who have actually worked with Sanders, the picture looks entirely different. Stories have surfaced of Sanders showing up early for extra film sessions, walking into the building with his iPad to dissect defenses, and working directly with coaches like Kevin Stefanski to sharpen his reads. The work ethic is undeniable. He's immersing himself in the game, learning nuances that separate a good quarterback from a great one. What's striking is that these endorsements aren't vague compliments. They're detailed observations from people who have been in the same situations Sanders faces now: pressure-filled games, fast defenses, and constant scrutiny. They highlight his ability to anticipate plays, recognize defensive schemes, and make smart, confident decisions under fire. And while critics may fixate on mistakes or learning curves, the legends see progress, consistency, and a quarterback capable of thriving in the NFL spotlight. So when the conversation turns to whether Shedeur Sanders is ready to lead, it's worth pausing and listening to the veterans. They see the preparation, the intelligence, and the instincts that might just prove the doubters wrong. In a league obsessed with hype and headlines, sometimes the most trusted voices aren't on Twitter. They're the ones who have been in the trenches and know what it takes to win at the highest level. Despite the praise from NFL legends, not everyone has been singing Shedeur Sanders' praises. Jason Lloyd, a well-known Browns beat reporter, has made some statements that quickly caught attention, and not in a flattering way. According to Lloyd, Sanders struggles with the fundamentals of film study. He can't always read coverages correctly, and he doesn't always know when he's hot in the pocket. On the surface, that sounds like a damning critique, but when you dig deeper, the story starts to unravel. Lloyd claims Sanders doesn't watch film consistently and needs guidance to even understand what he's looking at. But here, where it gets tricky, multiple reports from within the Browns organization contradict that narrative. Players and coaches alike have noted that Sanders is often the first one in the building, iPad in hand, breaking down defenses and putting in the work long before practice starts. Kevin Stefanski, his position coach, has publicly mentioned spending extra time with Sanders in film sessions, which raises a critical question. If he truly doesn't watch film, why is he showing up early, working through coverage breakdowns, and earning praise from his coaches for his preparation? The discrepancies don't stop there. Lloyd also claims Sanders can't read coverages and often misjudges defensive schemes. But game footage tells a different story. Analysts and fans who review the plays note Sanders accurately identifying Tampa 2 schemes, adjusting his routes, and making the right decisions under pressure. Even when plays don't go perfectly, the evidence shows a quarterback who understands spacing, defensive leverage, and timing. Exactly what you'd expect from someone who's learning and adapting at the NFL level. So why the negative spin? It seems there's a mix of skepticism, miscommunication, and perhaps a reliance on anecdotal opinions rather than tangible evidence. What Lloyd presents as factual shortcomings often ignores the context. Sanders is a rookie navigating a complex system, developing chemistry with his line and adjusting to faster, more intricate defenses than he's ever faced. The takeaway, when you weigh the criticism against on-field performance, coach statements, and actual preparation habits, Lloyd's claims start to look overstated. They spark controversy, sure, but they don't capture the full picture. Sanders is putting in the work, improving every game, and showing signs of being more than capable in the pocket. And what's most interesting is watching how the conversation quietly shifts once you see the proof. The media narrative doesn't always align with reality, and that gap can create some of the most compelling NFL storylines of the season. Now let's dive into what the tape and reports actually reveal about Shedeur Sanders' preparation, and it's far from the doesn't watch film narrative. Multiple sources inside the Browns organization paint a very different picture. Shedeur is often the first one in the building, iPad in hand, breaking down defenses long before anyone else arrives. He's studying coverage schemes, anticipating linebacker movements, and mapping out the safest windows for his receivers. That's not a player who ignores film, that's a player who treats preparation like a full-time job. Kevin Stefanski, his position coach, has been highly vocal about Sanders' dedication. He spends extra hours with Shedeur, reviewing plays and making sure he understands not just the what of a defense, but the why behind each movement. For a rookie quarterback entering a high-pressure environment, this kind of attention to detail is critical. Every snap is a learning opportunity, and Sanders is seizing it. Reports from training camp reinforce this. Teammates notice him walking around with his iPad constantly, always checking matchups, always looking for an edge. Contrast this with Jason Lloyd's critique, which suggests Sanders struggles to understand coverages and doesn't know when he's hot in the pocket. Game footage contradicts this claim. In multiple instances, Sanders correctly identifies Tampa 2 schemes, adjusts his reads on the fly, and makes accurate throws under pressure. Even when a defensive back closes faster than expected or a linebacker peels off unexpectedly, Sanders' adjustments often show foresight and situational awareness, exactly what you'd expect from a quarterback who's diligently studying his opponents. The discrepancy here highlights something important. Media narratives can oversimplify or even distort rookie struggles. Sanders isn't flawless, of course. Learning the speed and complexity of NFL defenses takes time, but when criticism ignores evidence of preparation, it tells an incomplete story. A rookie showing up early, reviewing film, and implementing corrections on the field is not someone unaware or unprepared. He's actively learning, evolving, and proving that he can handle the challenges of pro football. The lesson, preparation matters, and the evidence suggests Shedeur Sanders is ahead of the curve in that department. While some voices focus on perceived weaknesses, the reality shows a rookie quarterback committed to improvement, dissecting defenses, and using every resource available to gain an advantage. The narrative of incompetence falls apart when you look at the receipts, and in the NFL, performance and preparation always speak louder than rumors. Sanders' work ethic isn't just impressive, it's a warning that the hype surrounding him might be fully justified. Now let's break down how Shedeur Sanders is evolving under NFL coaching, and why the rookie can't learn narrative doesn't add up. Entering the league as a fifth-round pick, Sanders is adjusting to a system far more complex than anything he faced in college. Every offense has its nuances, every coverage has subtle cues, and the speed at which defenders read plays is exponentially faster. For most rookies, this is a massive hurdle. But Sanders is making that adjustment in real time, and the coaching staff's involvement has been crucial. Kevin Stefanski, his position coach, has been a game changer in his development. He's not just walking Sanders through the basics, he's teaching him how to anticipate, how to process pre-snap reads, and how to make split-second decisions that separate a good quarterback from an elite one. Reports from the Browns facility show Sanders dedicating extra hours after practice, reviewing film, and asking questions about defensive tendencies. This isn't a rookie who's ignoring instruction, it's a rookie absorbing every lesson possible. The misconception that Sanders doesn't know when he's hot or can't read coverages overlooks the realities of NFL learning curves. Reading defenses at this level is a skill that even veterans constantly refine. In game situations, Sanders has demonstrated the ability to adjust mid-play, identify mismatches, and make accurate throws under pressure. That kind of adaptability is a direct reflection of both his dedication and the coaching he's receiving. Another key factor is the transition between college schemes and pro systems. Sanders isn't coming from a one-size-fits-all offense. He played in a college system that emphasized different reads, timing, and protections. Kevin Stefanski and the coaching team are essentially reteaching him an entire offensive framework, a process that naturally comes with mistakes and learning moments. Yet, even with these challenges, Sanders is showing consistent progress, and those incremental improvements are being noticed by teammates, analysts, and NFL veterans alike. Ultimately, this section highlights a bigger truth. Player development in the NFL isn't instant. Rookies don't step in and execute perfectly from day one. Sanders' work ethic, film study, and collaboration with coaches illustrate a quarterback who is learning, evolving, and positioning himself for long-term success. The narrative of incompetence crumbles when you consider the context. It's not ignorance or laziness, it's adaptation, growth, and a relentless drive to improve. The coaching staff provides the blueprint, but Sanders is the one building the structure. And if he continues on this trajectory, those early doubts could quickly become outdated, replaced with respect for a rookie who's quietly mastering the game behind the scenes. Now let's cut through the noise and look at the tape, because this is where the Sanders can't read coverage's narrative falls apart. Critics have claimed he doesn't know what he's seeing pre-snap or that he can't process defenses, but when you actually watch him in live action, the story is completely different. Take the Raiders game, for example. Sanders is under pressure, facing a standard cover 2 look. Most quarterbacks hesitate here, but Sanders immediately identifies the coverage triangle forming between the safeties and linebackers. He recognizes where defenders are overcommitting and where the open lanes will appear once routes develop. That's anticipation, not confusion. Even in high-pressure moments, like the final drives against the Titans, Sanders' decisions show advanced awareness. He steps up in the pocket, scans his options, and delivers the ball into tight windows with placement that maximizes yards after the catch. Analysts often break down defensive triangles and zones to explain why QB succeeds or fails, and Sanders consistently locates these windows before defenders even close them. That's film study paying off in real time. Some argue that he caught looking or peeling off routes, but context matters. A linebacker in Tampa 2 drops late, a safety buzzes in unexpectedly, and Sanders adjusts. He bails when necessary, but still manages to put the ball where his receivers can make plays. That's decision-making under pressure, exactly what the critics say he lacks. On multiple snaps, he correctly reads coverage shifts, times his throws to the moment defenders break, and hits his targets accurately. It's textbook QB play at its core. Even social media analysts have noticed. Clips posted by breakdown accounts show Sanders scanning zones, anticipating pressure, and making calculated adjustments. In a league where even veteran QBs struggle with pre-snap reads, Sanders' ability to process defenses so quickly as a rookie is impressive. Critics might focus on minor timing errors or a misread here and there, but the bigger picture is clear. He understands coverages, he reacts intelligently, and he applies coaching concepts flawlessly. This tape tells us something important. Sanders isn't just reacting, he's predicting. He's learning, applying lessons from film study, and executing under the constraints of NFL speed and complexity. Those who claim he can't read defenses are ignoring the evidence right in front of them. Watching the tape, it's obvious Sanders isn't a rookie guessing blindly. He's a quarterback analyzing, adjusting, and thriving. And if he continues on this path, those early criticisms will quickly seem outdated. Now let's talk about the headlines versus the reality, because this is where the Shedeur Sanders story gets messy. Media narratives have been painting a picture of a quarterback who doesn't watch film, can't read coverages, and lacks preparation. Yet, when you dig into reports from people inside the Browns organization, the story is almost the exact opposite. Multiple sources, including coaches and teammates, have praised Sanders for his dedication, showing up early for film sessions and working closely with Kevin Stefanski. That's the side you rarely see highlighted in mainstream coverage. This disconnect isn't just a fluke, it's a pattern. Analysts like Jason Lloyd on the Ultimate Cleveland Browns podcast criticized Sanders heavily, claiming repeated mistakes in understanding defensive schemes. But the criticism often omits the context of these statements. For example, Sanders' supposed inability to read cover 2 or blitz packages is contradicted by tape breakdowns showing him identifying triangles and zones correctly, making accurate throws even under pressure. Meanwhile, the same media outlets have also reported stories about Sanders meticulously preparing, carrying his iPad everywhere, and putting in hours studying film. That's a glaring contradiction. Then you add social media into the mix, where opinions fly fast and unverified claims spread like wildfire. One side tweets about a rookie struggling to grasp NFL concepts, while other posts show the same rookie executing advanced pre-snap reads in real games. Fans often don't see the nuance. NFL defenses are complex, and minor mistakes are part of development, especially for a first-year quarterback adjusting to faster speed and multiple schemes. Yet the headlines tend to exaggerate these moments into a narrative of incompetence. What's more, legends like Kyle Long and other retired NFL veterans consistently highlight Sanders' talent and potential. They notice his confidence, his ability to adjust, and his football IQ in ways that the critical media rarely emphasize. This creates a tug-of-war in public perception. Fans are told one story, while insiders and those with first-hand experience see another. It's a classic case of media bias shaping a narrative that doesn't fully match reality. Ultimately, understanding Sanders requires cutting through the noise. Yes, no rookie is perfect, and yes, early mistakes happen. But the media portrayal often ignores his work ethic, his intelligence, and the on-field evidence of his abilities. The real story isn't about a quarterback failing, it's about a rookie thriving amid misinformation, misinterpretation, and media exaggeration. For fans willing to look past the headlines, Sanders' potential is unmistakable, and the growing disconnect between perception and reality may be one of the NFL's most surprising narratives this season. The takeaway for Shedeur Sanders and the Browns is clear. Media narratives often miss the bigger picture. While critics question his film study and coverage reads, insiders and NFL veterans highlight his preparation, intelligence, and on-field awareness. Sanders is adapting quickly, learning complex schemes and showing growth beyond what headlines suggest. For the Browns, this means they have a young quarterback with both talent and work ethic, capable of leading the offense despite outside doubts. The real story isn't about mistakes, it's about potential, development, and a rookie quietly proving the doubters wrong.